Hello, my name is Matthias, and welcome to the FPL Scope and the FPL eye test, where we take a look at this past weekend's Premier League matches from an FPL perspective. So I'm going to tell you what I saw from each and every game with my own two eyes, and we're going to have stats to back it up, or maybe counteract what I'm saying, and I'm going to try to explain why some of the stats are misleading sometimes, because that happens in a single game week. But either way, let's just go straight into it with the first game of the game week, which was between Arsenal and Nottingham Forest. And I think the main takeaway from this game is just how good Arsenal still look. Like, they did lose against Liverpool in Game Week 3, got a lot of criticism for how they set up in Big Six matches, despite Arsenal being the best team in Big Six matches the last two seasons. So yeah, I think those criticisms are a bit invalid as well. But we once again saw Arsenal just being super defensively solid and having some nice players offensively that can make a difference, even with Ødegaard getting injured pretty early in the game and Saka being out, which was usually a death sentence for Arsenal offensively. They looked really, really good going forward, with the new signings really making a mark, which is the main takeaway from Arsenal there. 2 goals from Zubimendi, which is super uncommon. He has never scored a brace in his life, so that's a new thing for him. 2 nice, well-taken goals from Zubimendi, who looks better and better in an Arsenal shirt. Also, Madueke had a fantastic game. He completely had Morato and the other left-back that Forest played on skates, really. He was really dominant the whole game, Madueke, and really showed why Arsenal brought him in. Like, that was another signing that was a bit controversial. It was a bit of a high fee for Madueke, but I think both him and Eze on the other side bring Arsenal something that they didn't have in the past, and that is mainly X factor. Like, they got some players now that can actually make things happen on their own and decide games on their own, really. And we saw a lot of examples of that potentially happening with these two players this game week. Gyökeres as well scored a goal, was really, really nice for the 60-ish minutes that he played. But obviously, with 2 international games for Sweden, where he played 90 minutes in both, and now Champions League coming up in the midweek, he got subbed off pretty early. So only 6 points for Gyökeres, but could have been more. He showed again why he is such a good FPL option and why I had him for game week 1. No biggie. But anyways, Gyökeres looked good, Madueke looked good, Eze looked good. That is also reflected in the top 3 non-penalty expected goal involvement numbers. And they were, just really solid players throughout the game. Another big story here is the fact that Gabriel Magalhaes got his DEFCON points. He usually doesn't get many, but he got 10 defense contributions this game, with the final one being the final block of the game, which was super nice for anyone like me that has him in their FPL team. That was worth 3 points, because that was worth 2 defense contribution points and 1 bonus point, that one last block of the game. So yeah, Gabriel, you can't really expect many defensive contributions from him, or defensive contribution points from him throughout the season, but at least they got it now, and shows that he is someone that could get that as well as everything else. Because yeah, the reason that I picked Gabriel in game week 1 personally was the fact that he can get a clean sheet in any game, which we've seen so far. Arsenal have conceded 1 goal in 4 games so far against Liverpool, which was a wonder strike by Szoboszlai. And also Gabriel, again in this game as well, was close to scoring. He actually had some pretty decent chances to head the ball into the net, but he missed them. So he is someone that can score in any game week. He can get a clean sheet in any game week, and obviously bonus points on top of that. And also now he got DEFCON points. So Gabriel is another player that is super solid and someone you should consider. I think he is worth the extra 0.5 over David Raya if you're looking for an Arsenal defender on a wildcard, for example, in either game week 5 or game week 6. So yeah, Arsenal were really good. Nottingham Forest, not really that impressive, but it's the first game for Ange Postecoglou, so we got to give them some time to show what they can do. At least the big upside for anyone that supports or has Elliot Anderson in their team, finally he got his DEFCON points with 15 defensive contributions. But this is like the downfall of defensive contribution points that I talked about earlier in the season, because a lot of people probably benched him because the likelihood of him getting attacking returns in this game were pretty damn bad, Anderson. So I would suspect that a lot of people that had him in their teams from game week 1 benched him for this fixture, and that's why defense contribution points are kind of like, you have to value them for what they are, really, because there are going to be more defense contributions points being gotten, or I guess, which is a weird sentence, but there's a higher likelihood of getting defense contribution points in these tougher matches. And that's usually when you want to bench players, for example, like Anderson, who has some attacking threat, but is mainly down to defense contribution points. So yeah, if you started him in the first 3 game weeks and then you benched him now, you wouldn't have gotten that many points. And that's like sort of the trap with Anderson. But he still plays 90 minutes. Douglas Luiz is still not in the team, so it seems like he's going to just keep playing and being a good contributor for Nottingham Forest. Takes set pieces as well there still, I think. And also is getting defensive contribution points. So he's still a decent, solid option for the next 2 game weeks, especially when Forest have good matches. But Beyond that, I'm not so sure about his viability, especially if Douglas Luiz keeps or starts playing for Nottingham Forest more now, takes over some set pieces, and also hinders him a bit in terms of defensive contribution points as well. But yeah, Nottingham Forest under Ange still is a work in progress. This was the first game like pretty soon after Ange took over, and Ange Postecoglou himself even said in the post-game interview that yeah, this was like a feeling out process sort of game, but now you're actually going to see the proper Ange Postecoglou team for Nottingham Forest. They played still a pretty deep defensive line, which is not usually what you expect from Ange Postecoglou, but he said in his post-match interview that starting from midweek when they play in Europe, you're going to see more of his style of play, and it's not going to be like a weekly, it's not going to be something that you have to wait for weeks for him to implement his style, or months. It's going to be implemented straight away now. So yeah, Nottingham Forest, I think a lot will be told about their future prospects in FPL in the next few game weeks, especially with two really easy fixtures coming up now in Game Week 5 and Game Week 6. Also, another thing with Nottingham Forest, Chris Wood again got subbed off early, this time around like 60-minute mark. So yeah, he just doesn't look like a good FPL option. But if you have him, keep him for the next two games, two easy matches, and then you can sell him. I guess he could also be someone, if you're still looking at free hitting in Game Week 6, less and less people are doing that, as expected. But if you are free hitting in Game Week 6, Chris Wood could also be an option there, but long term, he just doesn't look like a good asset at the moment in time, really. Yeah, that was that game. Let's move on to the next game that happened, or one of the next games that happened, and that was Bournemouth against Brighton. And I have highlighted this game just because we have a new star in FPL, and that is Antoine Semenyo. He's gone up by 0.5 already in price this season. Started the season at 7.0, now he's 7.5 after a brace against Liverpool, got an assist against Wolves. It was really close to scoring against Spurs in Game Week 3, but didn't score there. And then now he scored a goal and had an assist against Brighton. But as you can see from the non-penalty expected goal moment numbers, pretty lucky, I guess, in that regard to get those points. But what we didn't really know before the game week was the fact that he would take penalties when Justin Kluivert is not on the pitch, or at least when Evan Nilsson wins it. Because sometimes I think some teams or some players have this like thing that if they win the penalty, they don't take it. Other people are the opposite, where if they win the penalty, they do take it. So Evan Nilsson has taken penalties in the past, and people expected him to step up to take the penalty, but Semenyo did instead. But I think if someone else other than Evan Nilsson wins a penalty sometime, he's usually the one that wins the penalties for Bournemouth, for what it's worth. But it could still be Evan Nilsson on pens ahead of Semenyo. And at the same time, Justin Kluivert still working his way back into fitness is usually the pen taker for Bournemouth. I think that's going to continue to keep happening as well. So a bit lucky there with the Semenyo points, but he has shown that he is a good asset regardless. He is involved in everything that Bournemouth do offensively, and now he actually passes the ball rather than shooting when he's outside the box in a difficult position. That has been a huge plus for his game this season, and that got him the assist for Alex Scott for the first goal as well. So a huge 13-point haul for Semenyo, which is fantastic for me since I brought him in this game week. I said to everyone as well that you should bring him in because he is basically like the new, a lot of people have made this comparison, but he's sort of like Mbuemo last season, where he's like someone that is just really good attacking player for a really good team. Bournemouth have been really, really good so far this season. And Semenyo is like the main man for them and has just stepped up another level this season. So yeah, definitely get on the bandwagon. He is a fantastic player, Semenyo. So yeah, someone that you should still try to get into your team, even if you're free hitting in Game Week 6 against Leeds, which is still like a pretty tough fixture, as we'll see with Leeds pretty soon. But Semenyo is fantastic. Evan Nilsson, for his own right, got a penalty here in this game. He is obviously the striker for Bournemouth. He's also a good asset if you want a decent striker to have for the foreseeable future. Bournemouth have like middling games, like they have like decent-ish games, but not the best games either. So I think for now, only Semenyo would be enough from Bournemouth, but if you double up, I wouldn't really begrudge that either. And another Bournemouth asset that has shown himself to be amazing is Marcos Senesi in defense. I did have him in a lot of preseason videos where I thought about my team for Game Week 1, but once like they sold both Sabarni and all those other defensive players, I sort of got cold feet and didn't go to Senesi in Game Week 1, which I should have done because he is getting defensive contribution points every single game, it seems like. He's also like a decent attacking threat. He's gotten an assist already so far this season, and also we've seen Bournemouth be pretty good defensively, but they did concede in this game. Brighton scored a really nice cross from Inte for Mitoma to head it in, and both those guys have looked really good for Brighton in general. Those are the two main picks, I think, for Brighton. But again, Brighton have had tough fixtures. They're going to have tough fixtures for the foreseeable future. So I'm going to wait until wildcarding Game Week 13 myself until I look at Brighton assets, I think. But Mitoma and Minte both playing a lot of minutes and both looking really good. So you should keep that in mind for future game weeks as well. So yeah, that was that game. Let's move on to the next few games. 2 1-0 wins here in the like main round and on Saturday. Newcastle beat Wolves 1-0, which is not really that surprising that Newcastle won the game at home. They are much better at home and looked so much better offensively this game compared to game week 3, where they looked really lackluster against Leeds. But this time around, they had Joe Linton back, who contributed. Jacob Murphy looked fantastic. You can see the non-penalty expected goal moment there, 1.22, and that's not even counting the goal that was like barely offside that he scored. It was barely offside on Harvey Barnes, who passed it into Murphy, who scored, and that's not even counted in the non-penalty expected goal moment. So if Barnes had managed to stay onside for that goal, Murphy probably would have had like closer to 2 non-penalty expected goal moment in total. So Murphy's looking really good. He started for the second game week in a row ahead of Elanga, who's like the big signing this summer for Newcastle, or one of the big signings, I should say. So Murphy looked really good. But one of the other big signings, Nick Voltemeda up front, got his debut from start, scored a winning goal, and looked really good throughout. So yeah, he looks made for the Premier League, almost a pun there, but he looks like a really good player. He's obviously still unproven, has only played 1 full season at the top level, but that's why he's like sort of intriguing. Like that's why they brought him in for a lot of money, because his profile and how he looks on the pitch is really special. So we don't really know yet how good he's going to be, but it looks really good judging from this first game, really. But again, this is against Wolves, one of the weaker teams in the Premier League this season. They are candidates to go down. They have really struggled, especially offensively, but also defensively this season. Newcastle could have had more goals in this game for sure. But Wolves actually had like the first big chance of the game. They got a huge chance after like 10 seconds. They could have taken the lead early on, and they forced Nick Pope to make some really nice saves early on in the game. But Wolves throughout the game really didn't create that much. They desperately need Strand Larsen, as I've written there in the main takeaway. They're still missing Aït-Nouri and Cunha from last season. They're not going to come back, obviously, because they're both sold to big teams. So yeah, I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle for Wolves, who are still not really getting the contributions from the likes of John Arias and Fer Lopez, who they brought in this summer. So we'll see if they can be better in the future. But I think Strand Larsen is going to be huge for them. He is not only a good goal scorer, he's also a really good like focal point in attack. So I think he's been greatly missed for Wolves, and they really would want him back from week 5 onwards when they finally get some easier fixtures, because they have had still 4 really tough fixtures to start this season. I don't think that we should write them off too much already. We saw that last season when they had really tough matches to start the season. They struggled mightily at the start and then eventually grew into themselves, especially after Vitor Pereira came in. So he is someone that should give Wolves some hope, at least, Strand Larsen, when he gets back. So, yeah. Anyways, Agbadou, for me at least, got some defensive contribution points. I did bench boost this game week, which was not the best, because my bench didn't really do the best. Agbadou was my best player with 4 points. He got 2 defensive contribution points and conceded only 1 goal. But again, Wolves don't look the best, but they have had tough matches, so it's really tough to judge. But Newcastle looking good. Voltemada especially. Murphy, if he keeps playing, which he should now after this game, if he can keep Elanga still out of the team and Gordon coming back, I don't know. Murphy, it's still too early to go for Murphy, and Newcastle still have tough fixtures coming up. But he did look good and might still be a good asset. He was a fantastic asset last season. Not that many people had him, because people were always worried about his playing time, but that might be his destiny this season as well. Fulham against Leeds is the next game, and that was a pretty much really boring game, except for the end of the game, which was really exciting when Fulham actually got the win in the end. But the most exciting thing is the main takeaway from Fulham, as you can see, reference to Home Alone. I'm sure you know it by now, because it's been used every single time there's a guy named Kevin in football. That meme is used, but it certainly accounts for the new player for Fulham, who's named only Kevin. He doesn't even have a last name. His Brazilian name is just Kevin. He came on with like 15 minutes left, and he like sort of set Fulham on fire. He had a really nice cross earlier, like right after he came on, and then like one of the final things in the game that happened was actually Fulham scoring from a corner. And the reason they got that corner was a really nice, well taken shot from Kevin. He just basically came in from his left hand side. He played on the left and shot a wonder strike, almost scored a brilliant goal. But Carl Darlow, who is now the goalkeeper for Leeds with Lucas Perry still out for this game weekend next, he made an outstanding save. Darlow in general was really good defensively, or really good in terms of shot stopping for Leeds, so maybe we'll get a 4.0 goalkeeper in the future. That was the hope before the season, that he was going to be the starting goalkeeper for Leeds, and he showed why he could potentially be a starting goalkeeper in the league in this game, because he had several really good saves, as Fulham were the better team in this game throughout. But again, two defensively minded teams that really didn't produce that many chances overall. But Kevin is like the main attraction for Fulham now. I think he's going to be a really good option for game week 5 when they play against Brentford at home. I think he's going to start. I think the reason that he didn't start in this game was the fact that he's just completely new to the team. I don't think it's like a fitness issue, but I have to look more into that. But he looks electric. He looks like a really fun player who could be someone worth your while in FPL. But again, Fulham don't have the best fixtures. They have Brentford at home now, which is a nice fixture in game week 5, but after that they have like 4 pretty bad game weeks in a row before they get pretty good fixtures again from game week 10 onwards. So Kevin for game week 10 onwards could be a solution there for Fulham. But yeah, in the end, he managed to get a corner for Fulham that they scored from, and it was scored from Goodmanson just making a mess, like I've written in the main takeaway there. Just a completely weird header. I guess he was like sort of surprised by the ball coming and was sort of wrong-footed, and just hilariously the ball went onto his head and like perfectly into the corner, like a really nice header that he certainly didn't mean at all. So really bad luck if you had Goodmanson starting in this game, for example. If I had him on my bench boost and that happened, I don't know what I would have done. But yeah, scored an own goal, but he still looks good. Looks like a good option because Leeds look pretty good defensively still, even away from home this time around. So yeah, really nice from Leeds. Joachim Andersen was another huge talking point when it comes to Fulham. Got 12 defensive contributions, got another set of defensive contribution points, and he also got a clean sheet and some bonus points as well. So 10-pointer, I think, for Andersen in the end, which was fantastic for anyone that has him, including me. So yeah, he looks like a really good asset, but again, the fixtures for Fulham aren't the best going forward, except for next game week. So, but anyways, I think like 4.5 defenders, they're easier to just have and then bench them, of course, because you usually want to play 3 defenders, but this game week was actually a bit different. A lot of clean sheets, as you'll see from these games and the next 2 games as well. There were a lot of clean sheets this game week. The final point about Fulham, though, is the main man from last game week, Josh King, who scored a goal that was taken away against Chelsea. I obviously hyped him up after that, and now he was subbed off before 60th minute on my bench for the bench boost and only got 1 point. So yeah, I'm not so sure about his minutes going forward. Smith Rowe is sort of also coming back into fitness and is getting more and more playtime, it seems like. So yeah, Josh King still a cheap option that has started all 4 games so far at least. So he is like like close to a starter at least, not completely nailed, but is starting a lot of games. For 4.5, that is a good thing about him, but I'm not sure if I can trust him to get points and get more than like 60, 70 minutes each game. So yeah, I'm not so sure about him as an FPL option anymore, apart from being just like a cheap midfielder if you need someone really, really cheap. But yeah, pretty disappointing for me, especially on the bench boost, to only get 1 point from him. And yeah, him not looking as vital to Fulham as he did the past game week, where he was fantastic against Chelsea. He's still young, so that's going to happen obviously with his young age. But yeah, that was the final point about Fulham, or about Fulham. Next up, we have 2 0-0 games. So again, just further emphasizing that the defensive points were king this week, which is also the game week where a lot of people free hitted and a lot of people looked into potentially free hitting with 4 or 5 defenders, which was the right move in the end because a lot of these games just didn't have goals in them really, as you can see from these 2 games. But first and foremost, we have Crystal Palace against Sunderland. And Crystal Palace probably should have won this game, but Sunderland were again pretty solid defensively. Like, they have made some really nice signings this summer. One of which is, I think, Robin Roofs. I think he's a new signing. Yeah, he's a new signing, I'm pretty sure. He made several outstanding saves once again. He's been maybe the best goalkeeper so far. It's like between him and Vicario in my mind. He's looked really amazing and made a lot of vital saves for Sunderland, who have really good defensive players overall. They have Xhaka, of course, in midfield, who helps out with that. Diarra in midfield is looking really good. And their defensive players also look good. Alderete and Mukiele both got defensive contribution points alongside Xhaka, who had 18 defensive contributions here. So a lot of nice defensive contribution players for Sunderland as well, who looked pretty good defensively overall. But Crystal Palace probably still should have won this game. They have struggled with their efficiency so far this season, especially Mateta, who has had several good chances to score, but just hasn't scored any apart from the penalty in Game Week 3. He had another big chance, which I thought maybe could have been offside. So it wasn't called offside, but since he missed it, they never checked it anyway. But I think that could have been called off for offside anyway when he almost scored towards the end of the game from a pass from Daniel Munoz, which would have been a lot of points for people either free hitting or people that have had both of them or either of them this game week. But yeah, Crystal Palace were never really that threatened. I think Talby had a pretty good chance early in the game. That's like the main thing that Sunderland had this game. But apart from that, they didn't really create much going forward, which has been like sort of the case with all the promoted teams. They haven't looked the best going forward, but they have been pretty solid defensively, and I think that counts the same for Sunderland. So defensive assets from them for 4.0, Alderete especially, who's getting defensive contribution points quite a lot now. He looks like a pretty solid option if he can keep his place. Mukiele as well, he's 4.5 I think. He also looks good, but that's a bit more expensive and probably not something that I would go for because it's still early in the season. Who knows how good these newly promoted teams will be, but they certainly seem a lot better than the newly promoted teams of the past 2 seasons. So yeah, pretty solid defensively. But Crystal Palace overall should have scored in this game. And I think, again, we've seen from Crystal Palace this season, it is all about the attacking midfielders. They have lost Esse, but like the attacking midfielders now are the main attractions. Yeremy Pino especially had a one-on-one chance through on goal, really should have scored, shot it wide. Also good to pass Mateta, who was in a good position there to get a goal, but he was obviously in a good shooting position himself and shot it, and he missed it. Sadly, Yeremy Pino had another pretty good chance that was blocked by Roofs in goal, who had a fantastic game. So Pino definitely could have had several goals on his full starting debut for Palace this game. But I think that just underscores again how good Ismail Assar is going to be this season and how unlucky people that brought him in for Game Week 3 with the view to having him in Game Week 4 and 5 have been, because he would have been a fantastic asset and he probably could have scored in this game if he played, because he's a really good player, of course, and it seems like most of the chances for Palace will be from these 2 attacking midfield positions this season. So yeah, because Kamada played in the other attacking midfield position next to Pino. It was not the Venny who I was hoping for before the start of the game, or who I was talking about at least going into Game Week 4. It was Kamada playing in that attacking midfield role, which he had when he played in the Bundesliga. So kind of surprised that he's played more in central midfield so far. But attacking midfield is where he usually played back in the day, and he showed as well that he is really capable of doing good things in that position, because he had a really nice shot that was a really nice save again from Roofs. Could have been a goal there for Kamada. He had another decent chance as well, Kamada, so 2 pretty good chances. But I don't think he's going to play there for much longer. But again, in Game Week 5, if you're on a free hit, for example, both Pino and Kamada could be good options, but I probably would go for Pino because he gets a lot of chances in those positions overall. But yeah, Palace at least keep a clean sheet once again. No defense contribution points, however, for Guehi or from Richards, but they still look good, or from Lacroix for that matter, but they still look like good FPL assets alongside Munoz, who could have had the assist for Mateta if Mateta was onside, that is, and if he had scored the goal. But defensively, Palace look amazing still, conceded barely any chances in this game either. Offensively, still have some work to do, but I think when Sarr comes back, they're going to be a pretty good attacking team as well. So yeah, Palace looking good, Sunderland looking pretty good as well, and that ended up with a 0-0 draw in the end. Everton against Aston Villa, this was not a team between 2 good teams, because Aston Villa have been just dreadful in general, and this game was no different. They didn't really have that many chances. Buendia was close-ish to scoring. He had a nice counter-attack chance when they won the ball pretty high up in the pitch, Aston Villa. Buendia drove forward, had Rodgers to his right, could have passed it to Rodgers for a better position, but Buendia tried to shoot it himself. It was deflected and almost went into the goal. I thought, like looking at it live, I thought it was going in, but it did go wide, and still Aston Villa are waiting for their first goal of the season. Like, they just don't really create much at all. Watkins, again, this was sort of like an audition to potentially, for me, bring him in when he has those good fixtures that have been so much talked about for Aston Villa. But he just looked like nothing in this game. Watkins and Rodgers as well didn't really look like anything in this game. So if you're still stuck with those 2 guys, I would not begrudge you if you sell one of them, if you have both of them especially. And I think myself, if I didn't have other grandiose plans of transfers, I think Rodgers out could have been a good idea. And that probably should have been what I did this game week, selling him rather than Palmer myself to get Semenyo. But again, I thought with 90 minutes against Everton, who have looked pretty susceptible defensively so far, Aston Villa could create something, but again, they didn't really create much at all. So yeah, Aston Villa assets, not so sure about them. They also have Sunderland away next game week, and we've seen now Sunderland being pretty good defensively. I think it's going to be tough for Aston Villa to score in that game as well. So, and then they have Fulham after that, who are also a good defensive team. So yeah, I don't really know about Aston Villa assets. The Burnley game at home in, game week 7 could be good, but again, that's so far out now. They're going to go down in price more. So yeah, being more and more skeptical for the Aston Villa attackers. But again, they didn't really play their new signings that much. They brought in Gusand at the half. Didn't really help that much, but yeah, just really struggling to score in general. Everton, they are creating a lot of chances. You can see 2.17 XG. Grealish was again involved in pretty much everything. Almost had a goal where the ball was deflected, but a nice save from Martinez in the Aston Villa goal. And Grealish was just really good in general, he's involved in everything that Everton do offensively, really, and should get plenty of assists this season. Probably gets the most assists in the league, really. Like I wouldn't be too surprised if he ends up with that, because he looks really good. Everton look really good offensively, but again, they struggle to score with Beto missing a huge chance pretty early on in the game, and Tierno Barry missing a pretty good chance towards the end of the game. And the chance at the end of the game, Iliman Ndiaye was in a good position once again, but he didn't get the pass from Barry, who shot it himself, shot it wide. Pretty bad from the young striker, but he is obviously going to grow into his own eventually for Everton. But offensively, they still look good. Grealish had 2 really nice crosses for Michael Keane, where Michael Keane could have scored. He could have had a brace in this game, actually, the centre-back, but he's not going to be in the team for long because Brentford is working his way back into fitness. I think he's back in training now. Gaming 5 is probably going to be too early for Brentford, but from Gaming 6 onwards, he's going to be back, I think, Brentford, and that will help Everton defensively even more. And now they got their first clean sheet of the season, or second clean sheet of the season, actually. They've had clean sheets in both their home matches so far, and Tarkowski has gotten defensive contribution points in both of them. He's gotten defensive contribution points in all 4 games so far, and looks like a really, really good asset once Everton gets Brentford back. He's going to be amazing, I think. So yeah, he's someone that you should definitely consider for your team. That's why I written in the main takeaway that the Tarkowski train is chewing on. He is just getting defense contribution points every game, and now it seems like they get clean sheets in every home game as well. So yeah, Tarkowski looks like a really good player for the future. So several good players: Grealish, Ndiaye, Tarkowski. Ndiaye also got defensive contribution points from a midfielder, someone that was listed as a striker last season. Ndiaye has shown to be a pretty good player in terms of defensive contributions, getting a lot of recoveries in general, which helps him. And helped him get 14 defensive contributions this time and 2 defensive contribution points. And also, again, in great positions, could have scored if the ball had fallen to him on 2 occasions. Even though he didn't really get much in terms of expected goal moment, he was in really good positions to score, like he did in Game 3. So yeah, Ndiaye is still looking amazing, Grealish is still looking amazing, and Tarkowski is going to be amazing as well for Everton. And Aston Villa, yeah, just stay away from their assets in total. Next up, we have West Ham against Spurs, and as I've written there up top, you are what we thought you are, both these teams. The first 2 game weeks, West Ham looked dreadful, Spurs looked really good. Game 3, West Ham looked amazing, and Spurs looked not that good. And Game 3 was the anomaly, as we probably could have expected before the game, because Spurs won this game 3-0 quite easily in the end. I would say West Ham, until the red card for Souček, looked pretty good. But then once Souček got sent off and they were down to 10 men, they just had nothing really to combat Spurs. And at that point, it was also already 1-0 for Spurs after the first opening goal from Pape Matar Sarr. Is that his name? I keep forgetting his name. But yeah. Anyways, he scored from a corner. Really nice corner from Xavi Simons. And again, West Ham just showed how bad they are at defending set pieces in general. And that showed up especially in this game, because Spurs are really good at set pieces. And now Kudus are taking them from the right. Xavi Simons is taking them from the left. So that means Pedro Porro is off set pieces, or corners at least, for Spurs. That makes him a less enticing asset. And both the 2 centre-backs, Romero and Van de Ven, Romero scored a goal that shouldn't have been disallowed. Honestly, as a West Ham fan, I can say that. Like, it was a really weak foul. I don't really know why they disallowed it, but Romero showed again that he is someone that could score goals. And is going to be a really good option this season for 5.0. So I think both Romero and then Van de Ven, who also scored and got 14 points in this game, they are actually really good options this season, more so than Pedro Porro in my mind. So yeah, I think if you're looking to wildcard in Spurs players, or if you're looking to do like a transfer for a Spurs player in defense, maybe not this game week when they play Brighton away in Game 5, but in future game weeks from Game 6 onwards, they have 3 really good defensive matches, and I think Romero could be a really nice signing. Or Vicario in goal was also good. He's up to 5.1 now, keeping a clean sheet once again, looking good as always, Vicario. Like Spurs defenders in general are good, especially Van de Ven and Romero and Vicario. Pedro Porro, a bit too expensive considering he's not on set pieces that much anymore, and also isn't quite as attacking as we thought this season. They're not going to play with 3 at the back that much, as we've seen. He's not as good of an option, but he's still like a decent hold, especially for the fixtures. It's not like something that is needed to do. You don't need to sell him, but if you need that extra money, you could just downgrade him to Van de Ven and get $1 million in the bank if you need that extra money to bring in someone in future game weeks, for example. But anyways, I think that was like the main takeover for Spurs. Defensively, they look really, really solid. They didn't really concede that many chances this game, and also on set pieces, they look amazing. So yeah, centre-backs are really good assets this season in general. Also, Kudus got several good corners. Could have scored in this game. You can see that he had the best non-penalty expected goal moment, but again, didn't get any attacking returns, assists, or goals. So yeah, bad luck if you had him, I guess, against West Ham. But I was happy to see him not score against my own favorite team, who look pretty dreadful. So Paquetá was subbed off pretty early after like 68 minutes. I think that was down to just being down to 10 men and the game being gone, really. And Paquetá played a lot of minutes in the international break, or played for Brazil and Bolivia, like really just a few days ago. So I expect him to still be a 90-minute man, Paquetá, in usual games. But this was after international break, and also with how the game was going, it made sense for him to come off. So I don't think minutes are going to be an issue for Paquetá. So if you're a new owner of him, if you bought him for Game Week 4, for example, I don't think you should be too stressed. I think he's still going to play 90 minutes from West Ham most games. He's going to be better in most regards. Defensive contribution points wasn't really close to getting that in this game either. So maybe he's been a bit overrated in that regard, but he's still going to be a 90-minute man that takes penalties mostly for West Ham, because he is one of the most important players at that team. But yeah, West Ham sort of done by the red card. Before that, they looked pretty good, especially on the left-hand side. Diouf looks pretty good. He's gone down in price now to 4.4, but he still looks super attacking and is a really good player overall. Really gets involved, even though they are playing in a back four formation now, West Ham. He's still getting involved offensively, and he had a really nice link-up play with Crescencio Summerville, who also looked really good for West Ham. He's also someone that is working himself back into fitness. Didn't get the most minutes this game, but for 5.5, he's another good asset for West Ham once they get better fixtures from like around game 8 onwards at West Ham. So yeah, Spurs, solid defensively. Still don't really know for sure which offensive player to go for there. Richarlison played in this game, got subbed off. Of course, again, he also played for Brazil. Didn't play as much as he usually would have played, but I think he's still going to be the main option up front for Spurs, because Koulibaly was on the bench, didn't get on in this game, so maybe that tells you that Richarlison is going to be pretty nailed going forward as a striker, I think. Kudus looking decent, especially from corners. The same can be said for Xavi Simons, but both of them weren't really that involved in open play, so who knows if they're going to be good assets either. So I think Spurs is better to go for defensive players. West Ham probably should stay away for now, but I think Diouf, Paquetá, Bowen, these guys are going to be good eventually this season, but now is not the time, because West Ham are still really, really struggling and lost again this time against the Spurs, 0-3 in this match. Next up, we have Brentford against Chelsea, and I've written winter is coming. You can see cold Palmer. He is getting ready for the winter. He is heating up, as it were. He scored a goal, came on, and basically scored a goal pretty quickly. Looked really good. Went straight to the top for non-penalty expected goal moment in this game. So he looks like a really good option now, right after I sold him for Semenyo. So I'm not too unhappy about that, but he is someone that is looking good. And I wish, like I said earlier, that I had sold Rodgers instead of Palmer, because he looked really nice when he came on for this game. But I think Brentford in general looked really impressive in this game. Sort of tells you something about Chelsea, that they could be not as good when it comes to defending counterattacks. You saw that with Kevin Schade. This game was basically made for him, because he was super pacey and got a goal pretty early. Had another big chance that he missed. So Kevin Schade looked pretty good. In general, Carvalho came on and scored the final goal to equalize for 2-2 for Brentford. After a throw-in, that's basically where all his non-penalty expected goal moment came from. Carvalho with that final goal. It was a really nice, or really easy tap-in for him in the end. But yeah, Brentford impressed me this game against Chelsea. Pretty tough opposition, and Chelsea didn't really look the best in this game either. And finally, they lost some points from it, also with a 2-2 draw in the end here. But once again, Joao Pedro managed to get an assist and managed to get 2 bonus points from that. Basically, the ball was headed into him and then went down to Palmer, who scored. But Joao Pedro just finds ways to get points in every single game week. And he's just like, for some reason, he's become the best player in the world at positioning himself and heading the ball. Like, that has been like his main thing. From his like 5 goal contributions so far this season, I think 4 of them have been from headers and stuff. So yeah, he is just finding a way to get points each and every game now, and looks good for minutes, especially. This was after international break, like I mentioned with the other Brazilian players coming back from Bolivia, playing like 4,000 meters above sea level, going back and playing 90 hours later. Joao Pedro still managed to play around 80 minutes in this game. So yeah, he is someone that's going to play 90 minutes most games. He's shown his efficiency when it comes to headers, especially, and he does play as a striker for Chelsea, so he's going to be really good value going forward. Palmer's also going to be really good value going forward. Chelsea's next few matches aren't the best, but from game week 9 onwards, they have really nice fixtures, and that's where a double up of Palmer and Joao Pedro could be the way to go, actually. at that point. But they conceded twice this time around, so their defense didn't look quite as good, and it was deserved as well. Brentford had several good chances, and they managed to score 2 goals and looked pretty good overall in this game. Nathan Collins with 10 defense contributions. He's someone that is worth noting in that regard. He keeps getting them, but Brentford also keeps conceding goals, so I'm not sure if he's like a super viable pick going forward. But shot looked good. Igor Thiago didn't really look too good in this game, but he's still like a decent option for 6.0, but maybe not with the fixtures coming up for Brentford in the next few games. So both these teams actually have like tough-ish games, but Chelsea have shown to be a really good team. And João Pedro, if you have him already, you should consider yourself lucky or good, I guess, because he was a pretty popular player for a reason, because he's been so good for Chelsea since he came there and played in the Club World Cup. But he's getting points left, right, and center, and he's someone that is a nice hold for the future. I am looking into potentially getting him in myself, but that would probably make me not get either Isak or Palmer, so I might not go for him in the end. But he is a really good option in FPL in general, João Pedro, and still looks like it. Caicedo, another game with defensive contribution points and also another game with a goal. So he's actually been like the second highest goal scorer or point scorer in midfield so far this season, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, that's what you can get sometimes for the price of 5.5. He gets defensive contribution points pretty much every game, and he has that in him. Like, I was not surprised at all when he took that shot to score 2-2. I was not surprised at all that it went in, because he has a really nice shooting foot as well. So he is someone that can score goals. He gets defensive contribution points, and yeah, it's just a solid player overall. So he's actually a decent option for 5.5 if you want someone cheaper to get into the Chelsea attack, I guess, or like, yeah, to get into the Chelsea team in general. Defensively, Chalobah defensive contribution points. He is really good for that. Enzo also got defensive contribution points, which was surprising to me. Finding another way to get points for him as well. So yeah, Chelsea looking good in general as FPL assets. Chelsea players, Brentford looking a bit better than what I expected, at least, in a pretty tough game. And it ended up 2-2 in the end, which I think was a fair result. So yeah, pretty fun game all around, especially after some pretty boring matches in the other games earlier in those Saturday matches, really. Next up, we have Burnley against Liverpool, and again, this was not the best match, and I've kept saying and again every time in this video, so I'm going to try to stop doing that now. But anyways, Burnley looked pretty solid defensively. You can see the expected goals here from Liverpool. That's what you sort of expect from Liverpool. They have so many good attacking players, but I think from open play, they didn't really create that much. It was more towards the end of the match when they had one man more, because Burnley got GW4 sent off from 2 really bad challenges. He should have really been sent off for the first challenge. I don't really know when Suchek gets sent off for his, which was a red card, by the way. I don't really know why Igor does not get sent off for that tackle in the first half. So that could have made it a lot easier for the Liverpool assets in the second half. But Burnley were still 11 men until Igor made another bad tackle late in the game to give Liverpool a good free kick for Szoboszlai. Really bad challenge from Igor, who has been pretty important to Burnley defensively. But they also had Florentino Luis coming in this game, so they do have a nice replacement there already. But they do look pretty solid defensively, which is, I guess, not a surprise considering they conceded so few goals in the Championship last season. But since they lost both Trafford in goal and Egan Riley in defense, and Brownhill in midfield for that matter, I did not expect them to be good defensively this season, and they haven't really been good defensively this season. Again, they conceded a lot of expected goals, but they looked more solid this time around than what I expected against a really good Liverpool side overall. But yeah, Liverpool just find a way to win matches. That has been the case for them this whole season. So yeah, first end of the game, cross into the box, Hannibal with a really stupid, like, turns away to knock it head in the face, I guess, and the ball hits his arm. It's a clear penalty, but it's also a really lucky penalty right at the edge of the box from a really not really attacking, not really a threatening offensive or attack for Liverpool in that game. But they got a penalty. Salah scored a goal. He once again showed that he is someone that can get points even though he doesn't play well. He has had a pretty awful start to the season, honestly, but he keeps getting points. He's gotten returns in 3 out of 4 games. So he is inevitable. Liverpool are inevitable. They keep getting points even though they don't look as impressive as you expect them to be. But now Isak's going to come back eventually. Didn't play at all in this game, wasn't in the squad even for this match, Alexander Isak. But we also got word from Arne Slot that he's going to be involved in the Champions League in the midweek. So he's going to get some minutes eventually. I think he's going to be getting that 30-minute cameo against Everton in Game Week 6. And probably going to be back playing, or going to be starting for Liverpool from Game Week 7 or 8 potentially. Ekitike didn't really look that impressive in this game, second game in a row where he didn't really do much, so maybe it's time to offload him, especially with Isak now being a threat to his minutes more. But he's been good so far this season, but Isak's going to be even better at that position for a more expensive price, of course, but 10.4 for Isak is absolutely nothing once he starts playing, so he's going to be a really good asset. I also think Cody Gakpo is a good asset. He's played 90 minutes every single game so far this season, and I think that accounts for something when you look into the future and how they're going to set up their team with everyone being back, having a right back, so they have to play Soboslai midfield, and also having Isak back, so they have to ship out either Ekitike or like they have basically two players who are starting level players who will have to be benched every single game week, Liverpool in attack. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But Gakpo getting 90 minutes in every single game so far, I think bodes well for his future minutes. Also, the fact that he took a corner, that was mainly from like where they both got a non-penalty expected goal moment here, Konate and Gakpo. Really nice corner from Gakpo from the left. Konate was in the middle of the box, had a pretty open header, but headed it over the bar. Could have scored in that instance. Konate, who managed to get 3 bonus points in the end. So he's pretty good for 5.5, but he's injury prone and again, not the best in terms of points overall. Or like, yeah, Van Dijk for 0.5 more just seems like a better option currently at this rate, I think. But Liverpool managed to get the win in the end. Burnley looked pretty solid, but still conceded a lot of XG. So yeah, don't really know what to think about Burnley either, but they look a bit better than what I expected them to be, at least at home. Away from home, I still think it's a team to target, but at home, with a 2-0 win against Sunderland and a 1-0 loss against Liverpool, they're looking pretty solid at Turf Moor, which has typically been a good stadium for them, but they still managed to get 0 points from this game, with Liverpool scoring really late once again in this game week as well. Next up, we have Man City against Manchester United, and Haaland just keeps getting chances. He keeps getting goals. He should have had way more points already this season. He's been by far the most threatening and the best FPL asset this season, even for his price for 14.0. Should have had more goals, like I just said. Even in this game, between his 2 goals in this game, he had a mega chance that he missed. And also could have had an assist for Reinders when Reinders was through 1-on-1. So Haaland just looks amazing. He's been good in terms of link-up play. He's been good in terms of goal scoring, both for City and for the national team. Of course, I'm Norwegian, so I saw him score 5 goals against Moldova and could have had more in that game. Also, so Haaland just looks like an amazing asset, the best asset in the game. Like I've written here, I had him going into the game week. I said for anyone on wildcard, you should definitely prioritize getting Haaland. He was my number 1 pick in my weekly wildcard draft videos, where I rank the best players to have in FPL, and he's been my number 1 pick for the last 3 game weeks because he's just looked so good this season in general. He is going to get a lot of points. He's going to be an auto captain eventually this season. From game week 6 onwards, I think most people will go for Haaland permanently. More and more people are going away from the free hit in game week 6 tactic because they like me understand that Haaland is someone that you want permanently, especially for those next 3 fixtures, game week 6, game week 7, game week 8, when they play Burnley at home, Brentford away, and Everton at home in the next 3 game weeks after that. So yeah, but first of all, they get Arsenal in game week 5. I don't think he's like someone that you should prioritize getting in. He could, of course, score against Arsenal. He's done that in the past. But that is also the toughest fixture of the season because Arsenal are so good defensively. But Haaland, fantastic asset. Doku has looked really amazing. He's been by far the best winger for Manchester City this season. So maybe he's taking a step up. He's still young, so he could improve. And he has so many good qualities, Doku. So he could be a really good option as well now. With Marmoush being out and Cherky being out, he's going to play on the left and allow Reinders to get in those positions. I think that was another big takeaway from this game. Reinders didn't get any points from this match, but he was really involved defensively, got in those really nice positions that we saw him in game week 1, where we all fell in love with him as an FPL prospect. And he really should have had at least a goal in this game. Was also really close to getting the goal when Haaland had that big chance that he missed. Reinders was right there behind him and could have scored if Haaland wasn't there to take the finish. So yeah, Reinders is looking a lot better now with Marmoush out. I think he's someone that you should definitely keep. I know a lot of people are selling him now, but I don't think you should. He is looking really good without Marmoush there, and could be for the most of the season because Doku is looking, like I said, as the best left-wing option, especially for Man City. Also should be noted, Phil Foden was back in the starting lineup for this game, played on the right. Oscar Bob, after starting the first 3 matches of the season, was left out and didn't come on until really late in this game. And Foden scored the opening goal, really nice header from him, and he looks like a good prospect overall. Also got 13 defensive contributions, Foden. I don't think that's going to be something that he keeps doing that much, but at least it shows some potential of getting those extra 2 points, which are really, really nice for Foden, who's already a good asset and also someone that you could consider for Game Week 6 if you, like me, are thinking about selling Salah to fund Haaland, which I've told you about before the start of the season. I said that was all my plan, selling Salah in Game Week 6 for Haaland. That is still the plan for me because I want to triple captain Haaland at home to Burnley in that game because he looks amazing and is getting hauls every single game. Probably should have scored against Spurs in Game Week 2 as well, which is his only blank so far, but he just looks like an amazing asset. Man United, not so much. They had some nice chances towards the end of the match. Could have scored. I think Casemiro was the one that missed. Bruno Fernandes had a shot that went wide, but Casemiro almost steered it into the goal. He was onside, it looked like, as well, so that could have been an assist for Bruno Fernandes there, but otherwise he looked pretty defensive and he's still really penalty dependent to get those points. Wasn't close to getting defensive contribution numbers either in this game, Fernandes. So disappointing game from him, but Mbeumo still looks like the best attacking asset, I think, for Man United. He was involved in most of the chances that Man United had. He's also the corner taker from the right and takes really good corners for Man United. So I think he looks like a pretty good option. And was the player of the month, as you can see from the picture there, for Man United. Had a pretty good opening month for the Red Devils, and I think he is going to be a good asset, especially for Game Week 6. He could also be someone that you could replace Salah with to fund Haaland in Game Week 6, because he has Brentford and Sunderland in consecutive game weeks at that point. And then you could just move him on. Either Foden or Mbeumo, you could move on to Palmer in around Game Week 8 or Game Week 9 when Chelsea get really good fixtures eventually as well. So yeah, Mbeumo is the main asset from Man United that I would think about. Defensively, they still look awful in this game also against Man City. Not really that surprising that Man City beat them 3-0. Both me and Kevin, my co-host on the FPL Scope podcast, did expect Man City to win by quite a lot in this game. And we also expected Man United to score, but they probably should have scored with a couple of those chances towards the end. And Mbeumo had like a close chance to scoring when Amadeo crossed it in. But it was basically just like a really strong pass from or strong cross from Amadeo. He just shot it into the box, and Mbeumo wasn't able to react in time to get it goalwards, basically. But Mbeumo looked good. Offensively is someone to consider, but it is all about Man City and their assets. Another clean sheet for them. Donnarumma in goal had a brilliant save from Mbeumo. That was the other chance that Mbeumo had, where he had a really nice volley. Didn't really get much XG from that, but again, he's someone that doesn't need that many big chances to score. He overperformed in XG last season, and that's because he's really good at those volleys that he almost scored at from this game. But Donnarumma in the City goal, he showed why he is one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Yes, he's not the best fit for the Pep system usually, but in terms of being a shot stopper, he is just outstanding, and he showed that in this game, and that's why they kept the clean sheet, and that's why City are going to be much better for clean sheets this season than I think in seasons past when Everton has played. He's been more of like an attacking goalkeeper in a sense, like has passes, has the most assists of a goalkeeper all time in the Premier League, Ederson, and now they have Donnarumma, who's completely the opposite, really good shot stopper, but not good with his feet. So I think more clean sheets are in order for Man City. They're going to have good defenders eventually, especially Guardiola, who's now back in the squad. Didn't really do much offensively, Guardiola, but he's someone that is going to get points quite a lot. Donnarumma, in his own right, could also be a good player to have, but I just don't think I'm comfortable putting a City goalkeeper when they have so many good attacking assets. Doku could be a really good player this season. Haaland is obviously someone you should have for most game weeks. Foden could be really good. Oscar Bob has played and looked really good so far this season. Reinders is amazing. Rodri is usually getting defensive contribution points and could get attacking returns as well. Nouri is a really attacking fullback. Like, there's just so many good Man City assets in the game, and with the best asset of them all being Haaland. But there's so many good outfield players from Man City that I don't think I would be comfortable going with Donnarumma, but I think he's going to help them get clean sheets overall this season because he's such a good shot stopper in general. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Husam also got defensive contribution points. Maybe he's going to be a main starter for that City defense. Maybe he's going to be a cheap option as well. Like, they have so many good options, Man City, in FPL, and that's something you should consider, especially in Game Week 6 when their fixtures get a lot better after the Arsenal game now in Game Week 5. So definitely consider bringing in some City assets from Game Week 6 onwards. Any of my United assets from Game Week 6 onwards when they have Brentford and Sunderland in a row, especially on Bournemouth, who looks really good offensively. So that is it for the FPL's eye test this time around. This is early morning. I usually record my videos later towards the evening on the day before, but I didn't have time for that this time around, and I know why I do that, because I'm not as as you can see now, ready to talk in the morning as I am towards the end of the night. So yeah, I'm gonna get back to recording at night or towards the evening, because that's usually when I am better at speaking, really. But overall, I hope you enjoyed the video anyways. I think there was a lot of good information, even though it wasn't really told to you in the right way, as you can see from my vocabulary. Again, like I said several times now, English is not my first language, so give me some slack, I guess. And subscribe if you enjoy content creators from outside the UK making content. Yeah. Anyways, like the video. I hope you enjoyed it, regardless of me just blabbering and saying and again and again and again. But I hope you enjoyed it anyways. So see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.